Sabrina Siddiqui and Kimberly Atkins Storer are back with us. They aren't mad at me. They're not mad at me. They're mad at Republicans. Well, you know what, Mr. President? Let's show you some sound from some Trump voters who are frustrated with you and your economy.
Seems like everything's going up, and I voted for him, so.
I was hoping that gas was going to go down so I could do something, You can't do anything with gas prices, and you just can't afford to breathe at this point.
He's looking out for himself. He's putting money in his pocket, building his wealth up, making sure he can take care of what he needs to, and then it doesn't matter what happens because he's set. He don't have to worry about it.
Kimberly, the president says it ain't me, it's them. And meanwhile, the American people, a lot of whom voted for him, are like, brother man, this is not what we voted for.
Yeah.
I don't think they're saying brother man.
I bet they are.
So do a split screen with that family. And what we know is that Donald Trump has earned something in the area of $2 billion since returning to office. Again, I keep going back to history, but remember how politically devastating it was when George Herbert Walker Bush went to a grocery store and seemed like he was on Mars because this is a place that he just couldn't understand. Here you have the president saying affordability is a hoax. It's something Democrats made up. I don't care about economic uncertainty of America. Like, he literally is saying this out of his own mouth. And we have an election coming up, and yet you still have people in Congress. We want to go back to, protecting him, and that's all it is. So, yes, he's living in this alternative reality because he's being enabled to do so by everyone around him. So at this point, why wouldn't he?
Speaking of the enablers, United States Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, was on our sister station, CNBC, talking about the widening gap between the rich and the poor. Listen to this.
I got sick of hearing about this K-shaped economy. I can say here definitively the K-shaped economy is over, and we're seeing more of a C economy where the lower end of wage earners are finally clawing it back, just like they did in President Trump's first term.
The K-shaped economy is essentially that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. It's pretty simple. Sabrina, that doesn't seem to be true. And one of the things I think that's really interesting, and this goes for every administration, is the people around the president are sometimes more important than the president because he needs someone to tell them this is what's actually happening. And if those people are so far removed from the actual experience of the American people, if they are millionaires, like multi-millionaires. This is the richest cabinet we've ever had in modern history. That means that the last time that they had to think about a price was years, possibly decades. Like, they don't go get a haircut in a regular place. They probably have someone come give them a haircut at home. Right? It's those kinds of things that the American people have to deal with, those everyday issues that they don't have any concerns about. And then, on top of that, you have Reuters Ipsos. Which party has the better approach to the U.S. economy? For the first time in a decade, Democrats, it's only 1%, but Democrats have overtaken Republicans, 37 to 36%, with 27% of people saying not sure in a different party. When you take all of that together, what does it tell you about how they probably should be behaving right now as a cabinet?
Well, it's telling because, like you said, the cabinet and the people around the president are out of step with the day-to-day realities of voters who, when I talk to them, do say things about how they're limiting how much they're driving because of how much gas prices are costing them. They're having to forgo family vacations. They don't eat out as much as they used to. There's all kinds of sacrifices that families and people are making any given week because of persistent inflation and costs of living. And, I would say even if you did have a cabinet or people around the president who were telling him what he should be hearing, the other challenge is that this is a president who does not listen and also cannot stay on message. Right, so you have this affordability quote that is coming just months after he said, "I love inflation," which is just like a gift to Democratic ad makers across the country. Because he's downplaying what people are experiencing day in and day out, and he doesn't want to believe it. And so if you're going out there and you're President Trump, one, you're just airing your usual list of grievances. You're not even talking about the issue that is animating people going into November in an election that is a referendum on your presidency. But also, when you do have to talk about the economy, you're presenting an alternate reality, and it's not going to convince people who sent you to the White House in large part because of this very issue. This is also what he was specifically sent to do, bring down cost of living, right. And there's a sense that he hasn't done that.
What I said, brother man, this is what you said you were going to do, and you didn't do it.
The point that you just made,
I thought Jackie was going to say brother man.
I just short-circuited Jackie. Sorry.
I'm doing a lot of short-circuiting this morning. I'm so sorry. I didn't get my matcha until 10 minutes before the show.
No.
But the point that you just made, I think, underscores why this topic has been so confounding to so many of us, right? Because the assumption or the conventional wisdom would be, he's a lame duck. Why don't they just make this race a referendum? But it gets back to the corruption of it all, which is there is still this environment of fear and retribution that he's created, and the incentives just aren't worth it for some of these lawmakers to actually go against him, despite even the political harm that it is going to do them in November. And instead of actually trying to talk about the economy and some of the ways that they could fix it, I mean, they can't undo the war in Iran, but they could fight back against the tariffs. There are some other policy fixes that lawmakers on the Hill have within their powers.
They did the Russia sanctions bill.
That's true. That is true.
They did something.
Congratulations.
But they have decided now to resurface Anthony Fauci as the boogeyman, trying to remind voters of the pandemic era and blame Fauci for some of the pain that people are feeling 6 years later. Our colleagues reported this week that Senator Rand Paul told MS Now that he's now going to refer Fauci to the Justice Department for prosecution, circumventing a full Senate vote. It's unclear if the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia will take up the case. Kimberly, why are we talking about Fauci right now?
Because of all the reasons that you said before. There is a reason why Republicans have not put forward an economic package to sort of try to thwart what Americans are seeing and feeling with their own pocketbooks. It's because they have, for a decade now, been the party of Donald Trump. Donald Trump's party is not one of policy. It's not one of advancing. It's one of pleasing the president, protecting the president, to use the words of a lawmaker. And so they don't have anything to give, so they have to throw up shiny objects because in the past, anger and fear has been what has kept their base together and kept them coming back. Anger at Obama, anger at Biden, now it's anger at Fauci, whoever, they're pulling Hillary back out into it now.